Short selling. If you're watching this, it's very possibly because you've just seen some terrible things happen in the marketplace where the short sellers have been blamed for things going wrong. Would that it were so simple. But it's complicated. It's not quite like that. MT4 and MT5 traders feel that short selling is the same as going into long positions. It's no big deal. But in the marketplace as a whole, short selling is something which is a sensitive subject. So let's just take a quick look at this. STARTRADER has grown very much over the past 12 months. 12 months ago, maybe 2 or 3 out of 8 people on the planet lived in countries where we have people. And now 5 out of 8 people, 5 billion out of 8 billion people live in countries where we have offices. That's a big, big change. And among these people, we have a mixture of people who predominantly are bulls or bears or trade by instinct. Very different people, very different characteristics. We are one, we are all traders, but we are all different. It's a fascinating market to be in. If you look at payment methods, then payment methods are increasing all the time. STARTRADER operates around 200 payment methods now. And every day we try to make those payment methods faster and more numerous so that we can support clients. And if we look at institutional clients, 12 months ago we didn't have any, whereas now we're quite big, which means that a lot of institutional clients are coming to us. When they do that, they want to be able to go long, short in any mixture, any speed that they want. The market depth that they want is enormous, and I'm happy to say that we have that now. So let's go into short selling for a little while. Well, typically the image here is how people see short sellers, and I think that's a little bit unfair. And in the middle of this image you can see Elon Musk, where Elon Musk says, okay, if you don't own it, then you can't sell it, and maybe he's grumpy for some specific reasons. There have been many laws against short sellers over the years, and even today there are many regulations with regards to short selling. It's quite an interesting thing to me, because short selling has been going on since 1609 when Isaacus Le Marie started short selling in Holland. So it's not exactly a new thing, and if you look at what the SEC in the United States says, they actually recognize that short sellers provide value in the market. It's a bit like the emperor's new clothes. Short sellers look at it and they say, nah, I don't believe this, and then they short things. So short sellers provide valuable signals in the marketplace. They set a limit for upward market manipulation by just saying, nah, I don't believe. So it's quite fun. It's quite fun. Let me take 3 examples of people that I've done work with. On the left, we have Khaled. Khaled trades with 27 friends. That's what he does. His goal is to be the leader of his 27 friends, and we help him achieve his goals. In the middle, we have Dayu. She is not like me. She has 25,000 friends on TikTok. I don't have 25 friends. And she is mega social. She loves to go shopping and so forth. Runs big seminars, big webinars, incredibly connected person. And on the right we have Lucas. Lucas is one of these super technical guys. If you have dinner with Lucas, you come out of dinner and you think, wow, that was intense. He does multi-level marketing. His goal with his business is to go international. He is based in Brazil, and market by market he wants to expand his business. So 3 very different clients here, 3 very, very different clients. Khaled is a bear by nature. He's one of these people who looks around and he looks for weaknesses and so forth. And most of his trades, in my experience from talking to him, appear to be down. So he's a real bear. Dayu, she's such an optimist that she's looking for all the good news, looking for things that can go up. And from talking to her, I gather that the majority of her trades are long. She likes to believe that things will go up somewhere. Lucas is different. He sees angles, he has a gut feel, and he trades in a very, very different way. I would not call Lucas a bear or a bull. I would call him more of an instinct trader, different type of guy. They have different trading styles. They do really well, all of them, but they do these things differently. So why do I talk about Khaled, Dayu, and Lucas right now? Well, I want to talk about property rights. Khaled is an established businessman. He owns things. Like me, he's old. And I think he has a right to own things. Dayu doesn't focus her mind on owning things. She does not own a car, she rents her apartment. And in my opinion, Dayu has a right to rent things from Khaled. If Khaled is not using it, then it makes sense for Khaled to rent it to Dayu. That makes sense. It's part of Khaled's property rights to be allowed to rent an apartment to Dayu. I think that makes sense. And furthermore, if we go across to Lucas for a moment, then surely Lucas has a right to rent something for a while and then give it back, as long as he gives it back in the same condition or an identical copy in the same condition. So in my view, if you believe in property rights, you also believe in the right to short assets. Because you're allowed to own something, you're allowed to rent it and give back an identical copy in the same condition. And of course there's a fee. Because you've borrowed something for a while, of course there's a fee. So in my view, if you believe in the right to own things, then the logical extension of that is that you also believe in the right to short assets. So let's look at some examples of where longing and shorting assets are at play. I've lived in London for most of my life. And in the European Union and also in the UK right now, there are some disclosure rules with regards to shorting assets. Those disclosure rules don't exist when you long assets instead. I don't get that. I think there's an opportunity within Brexit for the UK to maybe remove short seller disclosure rules or change them in such a way to make them symmetric for long sellers. I don't know. I think there are some opportunities there. And also there are some squeezes that long traders can do on assets. And when people do squeezes, the short sellers quite often move in and short the thing which is being squeezed, where the asset price is being squeezed high, boom, they make money on the way down. So from a short seller standpoint, squeezing can be quite a good thing if you can recognize it quickly enough. Very, very interesting. So my question is, and this is not a statement, it's a question, maybe the flexibility provided by Brexit means that removing long trader squeeze limits is an opportunity in the UK. Just a crazy thought. Also, one of the things that I see on a regular basis with Khaled is that he looks at companies that do really well, and then he asks himself who the neighbors are of those companies, and he shorts the competition. That's one of his standard strategies that he does quite a lot. I think that's quite an interesting thing to do. Look for the winners, and then try to ask who's the nearest neighbor and short that one. Very, very interesting way of doing business. Ultimately, I think there are multiple positive sides of shorting. And one of them is that if an asset dives really quickly and someone is shorting it heavily, then it's possible that the short sellers that close their positions may be the only buyers at low levels because they need to buy and then return the stock. So in a way, short sellers with that mechanism, they set a floor for prices. So that's quite useful. They kind of set a limit downward to how it's a break. It's a break upwards, the break downwards. So short sellers provide value in terms of financial stability. I think 2023 as a whole belongs to traders, and that's something I've said before. I think it's true about 23 and 24 as well. We're seeing crazy effects right now where, although the interest rates are going up, we're seeing the S&P 500 also go up. Maybe there are opportunities for short sellers there. Certainly if we look at the instability and the distortions that happen in the marketplace right now, this is territory where short sellers should be doing really well. Over the last 10-15 years, we've seen massive quantitative easing coming in, pushing money in order to get investment into the marketplace. However, the central banks, mostly over the last 10-15 years, have had very low interest rates, which means that the banks have used the QE money as security when making big loans out to the market, and that money has primarily gone to real estate and shares. Small percentage of that is leaking into inflation, and the central banks are trying to pull the money back, but it's very difficult because quantitative easing is not the same as quantitative tightening in reverse. So in doing that interest rate hike, investment is being damaged or challenged, and even some banks are failing, like Silicon Valley Bank. So this is quite difficult. From a shorting trader's perspective, this is a beautiful situation because it's volatile and there's a lot of money out there. A lot of opportunities to discover distressed assets of all types, shorting them and so forth. And the same will be true around the big money being printed in the United States right now, 1.2 trillion infrastructure, 280 billion CHIPS Act, and 400 billion inflation reduction on top. Incredible amounts of money implemented in a manner which to me looks quite contradictory. So again, money in the market, volatility, opportunities to short. And also emperor's new clothes. We have celebrities now endorsing specific assets. I think that's a fascinating new trend. If the emperor has new clothes, then it's shorting territory. So I think these people again will have an effect on the market which gives opportunities to people who are interested in shorting assets. Another way of looking at this, speaking to Khaled, is to look at all the winners during the pandemic. On the right-hand side of this slide, you see a long list of companies that have performed really well during the pandemic. And Khaled's big question when looking at this is, okay, so if the pandemic made your stock go high, then surely the absence of a pandemic logically should lead to the stocks going down. It's not quite that simple because there are other trends going on as well. Things like artificial intelligence coming in and helping companies like Amazon and Baidu, big companies like that, Microsoft. It's not simple. I think Elon Musk's statement that you can't sell what you don't own is an oversimplification. Sorry, Mr. Musk. As simple as possible, but not simpler. In my view, it sounds like you've oversimplified things there a little bit. But I think this slide is interesting because if you look at the assets on the right-hand side and you look at the positive effects of short selling, you can see why the SEC in the United States actually likes the value that short sellers bring to the market in terms of market stability. It's a fascinating situation. Personally, I enjoy short selling, but that's just me. Everyone has their own style, their own emphasis, their own focal point. People are different. It's a wonderful thing. No matter what type of a trader you are, I warmly welcome you to join us now, and thank you very much for this.